Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert. I'm Steve Glenn.
I'm Paul Glenn.
Hey, every week we get to bring to you the best news about travel, the travel industry. Paul, you and I are lucky birds.
Fun industry, for sure.
39 years we've been at this, and it gets better every year.
It definitely changes, so it's never a dull moment.
Think of all the changes that have happened in our lifetime. When you started, how old were you?
16.
And what did you do?
Delivered paper airline tickets.
Paper airline tickets.
So you didn't have a cell phone.
No cell phones.
And you had to have a piece of paper for every leg of every trip that you had to get on an airplane.
And people had to pay $50 if you lost a ticket. Mm-hmm. And so you had to carry these tickets. And we would handwrite tickets. And it was like carbon paper. There was a red carbon, no carbon required.
These pieces of paper were money.
Yeah, and so literally we had to lock all those up in the safe, because if a robber was smart, they wouldn't have robbed banks back in the 1980s and 90s. They would have robbed travel agencies, because they could take those tickets if they knew what they were doing, write a ticket out worth thousands of dollars,
into cash.
And so we have this big hunkin' safe down in our middle room. And that thing, what does it weigh?
Still sitting there. Oh, it's got to weigh 5,000
And it's so
pounds.
heavy that it actually is sinking down into the floor. This building's 120 years old.
At least, yeah.
So it's been fun to think about all the years in the travel industry. We're having fun here.
You weren't supposed to say that, because we're gonna transition Ryan's office down into that room. That'll be the one that ends up in the basement.
Yeah, when we hear the big timber. Hey, today we got a great show, but before we get started, we got to tell people to ask them to do the like thing.
Yeah, like and subscribe and share. And if you do have any ideas on content for future episodes, please add that in the comments below as well, so we can make sure we're hitting on topics of interest to you.
It means a lot to us if you would just take the time to do that, and it would help us get the subscribers up and all that stuff. I know, I spend about an hour doing YouTube every night after I get home and have dinner. And I just become a YouTuber.
Oh, yeah?
And so I watch ourselves a lot.
The one like that we get every week.
Hey, today, before we get started, Paul, I was looking for airfares. They are fantastic to Europe.
For summer.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I was looking July 5th, come back the 16th, Omaha to Rome, $3,500, business class.
That's amazing.
Business
It's
class.
half price.
I looked for November to Rome, coach. It was $600.
Okay.
Of course, that's the not the full coach. The coach was like $800. That was
basic economy.
Basic economy. Okay, but still, $800 round trip
To go to Europe.
go to Rome.
Yeah.
Not just Europe. Rome is the busiest place in the whole world this year. So with the Jubilee. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage you to get out and hit the planes.
Great opportunities.
Because
this
there's
year.
great prices this summer for traveling. We want to start off today's session with the first headline that reads as follows. No more crying wolf, Paul. After 20 years of trying to get traction, Real ID is happening
This week. Tomorrow.
May 7th.
Tomorrow.
May 7th.
Okay.
And literally, you have to have if you pull out your driver's license, ladies and gentlemen, look up in the right-hand corner.
Upper right-hand corner.
You'll see this little star, gold circle with a star, and that means that your ID, your driver's license, is a real ID.
So if you're in Nebraska, or if you're in, I think it was like 43 states, this hasn't been an issue for 5+ years. So nothing to worry about, but there were a handful of states that, for whatever reason, they didn't get this in place in a timely manner.
We've been waiting 20 years for someone like California and some of those.
I want to say Michigan, I think, was one of them that I saw on the list
Vegas or
once. Yeah. So
Anyway,
so double check to make sure, because if you don't have that, you probably want to grab your passport.
Yeah, if you have
to
your
make
passport,
sure.
that's a real ID. But your driver's license, if you don't have that little gold star in the upper right-hand side, you better go to your DMV and get that. Now, there are some long lines this week, so that's what we've heard.
There are long lines everywhere. I was in Ireland last week, and coming back from there in Chicago and looking at the customs lines, I've never seen a line as long as I have to come through customs. So whether it be for traveling or whether it be for your real ID, make sure you allocate plenty of time to get through what you need, because that was my worry. If I didn't have global entry and clear and TSA pre-check, there was no
stuck.
way I would have made my connection.
Another reason you should apply for global entry. It's the best investment you'll ever make if you travel internationally. You can walk right through the lines.
I walked by 3 blocks worth of people to have 0 wait.
Was that in Chicago?
That was in Chicago.
Wow. Okay, here we go. This next list is going to blow a lot of people away. I went and looked for the top 10 Google searches for destinations for travel this summer.
Summer travel.
Okay. You ready to go?
So let's put it, some of this though,
in perspective,
is going to be because of summer travel.
Yeah. You wouldn't find these in the fall. Or
some of these are definitely winter, would be at the very bottom of the list
these
of
are
100
surprising.
cities you would go to.
Okay. Number 1, San Juan, Puerto Rico. This probably doesn't surprise too many people, because you've got the sun, the fun, the Caribbean beach vacation. You've got all the cruise lines going through there.
And no passport requirements.
No passports. Another good reason. That's why Hawaii and Puerto Rico is so popular, right? All right, number 2 on the list, Billings, Montana. I never would have guessed this.
That'd be a place I'm going there for a meeting next month, so I'm excited for it, but I never would have expected it to be on this list.
Well, meeting next month, though. Last week you were in
Dublin.
This week you're in Hawaii. Next month you're in Billings. Paul, do you ever stay home at all?
You only live once, right?
Okay, well
you only have the opportunity to make memories.
Okay.
What is it that we sell? Well, we can't sell it if we aren't living.
It's not possessions.
It's not a. I want to say do what I do. Not be one of those
you're
do what I say, not what I do.
You're going to be our Billings, Montana expert, I'll tell you that. Hey, the third one on this week's list on the Weekly Traveler of the top 10 destinations as searched on Google for the summer of 2025 travel, Nantucket, Massachusetts. My gosh. I think maybe the Boston people, they're the New Yorkers.
You're East Coasters.
East Coasters are going to love that.
And in Florida, going back to see family, if you get people that retired down to the south. So I think you get a movement either, during the winter, you get the northeast that goes south.
Right.
And during the summer, you get the southeast that goes north.
Stay out of the warm.
But
okay.
That's no place I would ever think as far as a destination I'm going to go.
And if you think about that, think about this. St. Louis, Missouri is number 4. Now, St. Louis, I had never guessed. I mean, I could see it if you're doing Mississippi River cruises, if you're doing baseball at the St. Louis Cardinals, Budweiser beer. But St. Louis just isn't on my radar as far as a place I want to do and go visit this summer.
Yeah, I just don't know of any super large events that they're known for.
No, we have a lot of great companies that work with us from St. Louis, and I actually think it's a great town. I was actually speaking there a year ago, and they are focused like laser on building St. Louis similar to blueprint of Nashville.
Well, and if it would become that, then there would be a reason why. And actually, that brings up, I'm surprised in looking at this list, Nashville's not on there, because Nashville's kind of a year-round destination.
Yeah, it is.
And for multiple reasons. So,
well, and number 5 is Providence, Rhode Island. So once again, I just wouldn't have guessed Providence, Rhode Island. Now you've been
I've been there. It's pretty. There's some history.
It would be not as hot.
Rockefellers were, that whole area is not too far from there, so you can go get some history and things like that, and it is pretty, but just not anything that pops in my mind.
Number 6 is you're going close by.
I'm really close by.
Maui, Hawaii. So Hawaii is great all the time. You can't go wrong with Hawaii. You're going to Oahu.
So we're doing Oahu. We're going for a military ceremony.
So you can't go wrong. And you found like a $600 round trip ticket?
$600 coach tickets, yeah.
Wow. Great prices to go to Hawaii. Now, number 7, no one on earth would have guessed this one. Omaha, Nebraska. Now, the only thing you and I were talking beforehand was it depends on when this search list was put together. If there were people getting prepared to go to the College World Series in June.
Last week was Berkshire Hathaway.
So you got
the 2 biggest events of the state of Nebraska that do happen between
What about Nebraska
end of
football?
April. Well, as far as global travel in,
okay.
Between the College World Series and the Berkshire event.
Yeah, that was Omaha, Nebraska. I would have never guessed that one. Number 8 on this week's list, Juneau, Alaska. I would have guessed this one.
Yeah, no, this is an expected one on the list for sure.
Every cruise line seems to go through Juneau between May and September, and Juneau is kind of the epicenter of travel into Alaska. I know you and I are going on Alaska cruise on Seabourn end of July, and guess where it ends up?
In Juneau. It is a challenge, though, because one of the things, if you're a domestic traveler, not all your standard domestic carriers are flying in and out of Juneau very much.
Yeah, so you had a hard time getting out, didn't you?
I don't even know how I'm getting home. I was looking for it yesterday, and I know I've got something booked, but I know it's not on a primary carrier, so I don't know if I'm on Alaska Air. I know I'm having an overnight somewhere, so better find a hotel room somewhere for that night.
I'm flying from Juneau to Anchorage, and I'm going to take the train up to Denali.
You're going up to Fairbanks and Denali?
Yeah.
I'm jealous. If I had more time.
Mount McKinley, we should call it now, I guess, instead of Denali.
It's not Denali anymore?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, number 9 on this week's list of the top 10 destinations is Bangor, Maine. You know, I can understand that for the summertime.
Yeah. Maine is beautiful.
Yeah, Maine.
If you haven't been to Maine, I did it once last summer. We did. We were in Whitehead Island to start for 2 or 3 nights, and then we went down to Bar Harbor. And Whitehead Island was just that, an island, and nobody was there. So it was so peaceful and amazing. Then when we went down to Bar Harbor, it was kind of like the Disneyland of the
tourists.
Northeast. So tourists everywhere, and it was what we just hit on regarding the Nantuckets and Providence. It's all the New Yorkers and stuff that are heading north.
Number 10, you cheeseheads are going to love this one, Madison, Wisconsin. Now, once again, I can see the summer people go to Wisconsin Dells and all those places.
Well, Ryan was pointing out that the NFL draft happened up in Green Bay, so there could have been some overflow for that.
Yeah.
Again, depending on what the parameters for the search were.
So here are my observations out of this list of 10. And I thought, I got to summarize for our listeners and say, what do you see as the basically just a trend if you went for it? And the trends that I saw were affordability and easy accessibility, right? They're looking for great value this summer. And, with all the
economic
talk about
uncertainties.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're holding on. They're a little bit tighter to their dollar. There's a growing appetite for outdoor adventures. People want to get out. And another reason is it's cheaper to do camping and outdoor adventures. And Billings, Montana is cheaper than New York City.
If you're going to a destination that outdoor activities are part of the experience, it's not that you're going to be paying a New York City hotel price.
Right.
So
then you've got coastal and island destinations. You got Hawaii. You got all the coastal ones along the northeast coast. So people want that sun, the sand, and all that stuff too, which you're seeing in Puerto Rico and in Hawaii and all that stuff.
You get your all-inclusives too, where people just want to go and let it all loose.
The theme for this year that I've come up with is slow down and cozy up. And I think all these destinations basically are made for relaxation, good value, cultural enrichment, and just a slower pace. None of these are like your high-octane New York City or Miami.
Nashville's kind of one of those faster-paced places. So, a lot of these were places you're going to go to soak it in.
So it's going to be a true balance of rest and authenticity and just all the things that make summer fit for a family. And that's the other thing that probably we should... These are family destinations, most of these. So it'd be easy to take your family.
And we've seen over the last 10 years, 15 years, there's a lot of that multi-generational. Let's go make the memories and have those experiences.
They're not one possessions, they're one experiences. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on the Weekly Travel Alert. I'm Steve Glenn.
I'm Paul Glenn. Again, please like, subscribe, share. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.